So I'm just having a few little bits of practicing first with the different textures, and we're going to start with the resist method with some wax. So I've just had a little play here, and that's when I put the wax onto white paper. But what I want to do with my first leaf is put the wax down onto a coloured paper, a coloured background. So I'm going to paint my background in first, very pale, and then I'm going to put some resist on top of that, and we'll see what happens. Now this background is completely dried, I'm going to get the piece of wax and make the marks where I want this colour to actually stay as this colour. So I'm looking at the design of the leaf, and they seem to be in bands going across. So you're kind of working a little bit blind here, but hopefully it's going to be enough to give you a nice texture. So the wax is on, and now I'm going to start to paint with the deeper green. Now I've let this completely dry, and I'm going to add another level of colour onto it by adding a little bit more of the resist. So we're going to get another middle colour that's left behind when we add the darker colour on top. So I think this is quite an interesting technique to be used on this kind of plant leaf, and I think I've learned a lot here, and that is to possibly not be quite so heavy on the wax that I put down first, because there is some quite solid parts of resist. This is a much nicer area possibly, so I need to give the same treatment to the rest of it if I do a larger picture based on this technique. What I think I'll probably do now is to sort of go in with the style of what I've got. I'll just add some oil pastel to the top of that, just to add a little bit more strength of colour in certain areas now, to add a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. So I'll just work across that. So my next leaf is going to follow the same idea of blocking colour in to start with. So that's my lightest colour. Then I'll let that dry completely, and then we'll mask some areas out with a different technique and work on top. So I'm going to mask off the areas in between these little shapes here, so that the majority of the background is this greeny yellow colour. So just going around that, quite a thick covering. It's a lot easier if you've got the masking fluid that's blue tinted, because you'll be able to see a little bit more clearly. So now I've taken the masking fluid off, I'm going to work to add a little bit more detail into the lighter areas. Just using a fan brush just to get some texture in here with very little paint on it. It gives a nice separate scratchy line work like this. So you can just work that on top. Maybe it could be over a masked area. The final leaf follows a similar idea, in as much as I'm going to put some colour down first, but I'm not going to mask. I'm actually going to take the paint away using different methods, whilst the paint is still a little bit dry, a little bit wet. So I'm not going to wait for it to fully dry. Before this paint is completely dry, I'm going to target some areas to pull the paint away to add highlights. So all I've done is I've got some tissue paper and rolled it into a point to work with, and then before that paint is totally dry, I'm moving the point of the tissue across and it is sucking up the paint. You could do this with a sponge, it would make a texture. If you have a natural sponge, you can use that. So I'm creating some negative spaces here, some highlights and texture by taking the paint away before it's dry. So you've got to work quite quickly. So using a tissue or a sponge, get your simple mask that you've made out of paper and create texture inside each of the little shapes. So this is the whole point of this, is that you're creating texture as opposed to flat painting. So these naturalised marks with the stencil give this texture that we need as opposed to flat painting, and then we can work with our finer brushes or pencils to add more lifelike details on top of that. So these are my finished paintings. I've just added a little bit here with some dry brush, slightly darker colour to add a bit of depth and shadow to that. With this one I added a little bit more pencil around the edges and a little bit of fine brush, and then I added the fan brush texture on top here just to add a little bit more of a three-dimensional look to it. So these are some of my leaf experiments with just some of the resist techniques.